All right, so now we're going to read page 131. Soon the Virginia Company was ready to begin its project. In late 1606, three ships and more than 100 colonists set sail for America. The ships carried strict orders from company leaders. These told the colonists what kind of site to choose for the colony. It was to be on a river inland from the ocean. That way, ships from rival countries could not easily spot it. It should also be easy to defend from attack. The English were especially worried about the presence of Spanish ships sailing from Cuba and Florida. These might pose a threat to a Virginia colony. The Jamestown instructions also spelled out how many colonists should build houses and how many should plant crops. Others were to hunt for gold or to search for rivers that might be a shortcut to the riches of Asia. The colonists even received tips on how to treat American Indians. They were told, let's look down at that, you must have great care not to offend the naturals. Those were the American Indians or Native Americans. And this was in the Virginia Company pamphlet, 1606. For the most part, the colonists followed the instructions. They chose what they thought was a safe and healthy spot. They went about the work of building their colony. They named it Jamestown after their king. Jamestown would become the first lasting English colony in North America. So over here it says, analyze the rival settlements map. Write why English settlers wanted to hide their colony from the Spaniards. So you can see the Spaniard settlements over here in Florida. And then you can also see, according to the legend, their route of Spanish treasure fleets went along this area right over here, off of Cuba and along Florida and probably over into Spain, bringing all of those treasures back. Jamestown was up here, right above where the Spanish settlements were, and it was sort of inland in this area right here to try and hide them from the Spanish. Let's look at the reasoning why they might want to make sure that they're staying away from the Spaniards. So it says right over in here that it should also be easy to defend from attack. The English were especially worried about the presence of Spanish ships sailing from Cuba and Florida. These might pose a threat to a Virginia colony. So they were afraid that the Spanish were going to attack. So we can go down here to the bottom. Why the English settlers wanted to hide their colony from Spaniards. English settlers were afraid that the Spanish would attack them. And we'll move on to page 132. We see a subheading that says Hard Times in Jamestown. So we know that this section is going to be about some difficulties that the colonies had. Unfortunately, the Jamestown colonists soon found out that their settlement was not in a healthy location. The water was unfit to drink, and clouds of mosquitoes attacked from the nearby swamps. Many colonists died from diseases carried by the insects. Also, the local Powhatan people were not always friendly. They worried about having newcomers settle in their territory. The Powhatans made several attacks on the colony. After the first year, John Smith became the leader in Jamestown. He pushed the settlers to improve the colony. He tried to improve relations with the Powhatans and their chief, whom the colonists called Powhatan. According to Smith's journal, he also made friends with Pocahontas, the chief's young daughter. The colonists at Jamestown seldom had enough food. Identify and circle the sources of food shown in this painting. All right, so some of the things that we see here, we've got the fish over here, we've got some corn, we've got squash, it looks like there are some nuts, and I'm not really certain what that one is right there, but we can go ahead and circle those things on the painting in your book. So the fish, the corn, the squash, and the nuts. Then let's go back up here and find out what other thing that we need to do for question number 5. Why might colonists have needed help to find and grow food? Well, if you think about it, they're in a new area. They don't really know what the food looks like. All of the food is different. And some of the other reading that we've done, we know that, food from the Americas was different from food coming over from Europe and Asia and Africa. So it was just stuff that they were not really used to. Now let's go to our next question. If you need to, you can go back and re-watch the video or pause it or go back over some of the text and just make sure that you answer the question for question number 5 down here in the lines provided. All right, next we're going to be going over questions 6 and 7 and then move on to question 8, and that'll be the last of our notes.